Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with a story from a typical day in a Danish supermarket that ended up anything but ordinary. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Nice guy solved the problem with entitled Karen in his own way. The story's a bit different from others in here, and at the same time it's not. I also thought that this person, nice guy, was working in the store where the story takes place. NG equals nice guy, EK equals entitled Karen, me equals me. So I was in a very typical Danish supermarket. I decided that I should have a biscuit that goes perfect to the buttermilk, so I entered the store and couldn't find those champer biscuits. I'm looking for an employee and saw a young man wearing a white shirt and red tie. The store has red and white in their logo, so I found it logical that this was his uniform. Me. Excuse me, but can you tell me where I can find the champer biscuits? NG. Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't work here, so I can't tell. Me. I apologize. I thought you were working here. We smiled at each other and we both continued our grocery shopping. I kept searching for the biscuits or an employee. Woohoo! In the end, I found the champer biscuits. There were only about 5 or 6 bags left. As I said, this is a very popular dessert in Denmark in the summer, so it's very typical that the shops run out. I walk around the shop a little to see if there was anything else I needed, then NG came over to me. NG, hi, I found the champer biscuits and took a bag for you as there were only a few bags left. Me, thank you so much, but I finally found them. But anyway, thank you for helping. It was very nice of you. NG, no problem. You can't get buttermilk without champer biscuits. He put the bag in place and I went up to the checkout. I put myself in line, the queue was quite long, and the girl sitting at the cash desk had some problems with the product, and you could tell she was getting more nervous. Clearly because the queue was getting longer and she couldn't solve her problem. This means that people can get impatient, especially our beloved entitled Karen type. Suddenly I heard a loud and shrieking voice that made everyone in the nearest radius look at her. Eek. Hey, can you open one more cash desk? As I said, she got pretty much everyone to look at her. Now she had eye contact with NG, who'd been looking at some different items by himself. NG, I'm sorry, but I don't work here. EG, that's not true. I saw you helped him finding those champer biscuits. She points at me. I was about 2 meters or 6.5 feet behind her. NG, yes, that's because he couldn't find them and I chose to help him. EK, fine, but then you also have to help me by opening one more cash desk. Have you seen how many people there are in line? Now you go open a cash desk and stop with whatever you're doing. It must be said that NG had a basket filled with 7 to 10 items and EK had her cart with different goods. NG walked quietly towards her. NG, try to listen for a second. I don't work here. Yes, I've seen how long the queue is. No, I don't open one more cash desk. And yes, I will for sure stop whatever I'm doing. After which he took his basket and poured all his goods into her cart. We were several in the queue who started laughing very loudly, and EK was completely red in her head. You could see the mixture of anger and embarrassment when it suddenly came to her head that NG probably wasn't working in the store. NG went out of the store without buying his goods. I feel sorry for NG, but I wish I could thank him for the laugh he gave me and the others in the store. It's great that NG was so calm throughout the interaction, even when faced with EK's demands. His response to dump his shopping into her cart was a brilliant move to underline his point that he doesn't work there, turning an uncomfortable situation into a humorous one for everyone else watching. And our second story. She can't do it, right? Okay then, you take over. This happened a few years ago, but it still makes me chuckle. I was helping an activist group create arm locks. The way we did this is by cutting down some 6-inch diameter PVC pipes to around 2.5 feet before wrapping them in chicken wire and plaster bandages. Then the activists would handcuff their wrists together inside the arm lock so they could occupy a building for longer while the cops found ways to destroy the arm locks without hurting the activists. So as with any mission like this, the crew putting together everything is a motley one. Many ages, races, and varying skill levels. I was sort of directing folks on how to complete this project, and 2 women and I were cutting these PVC pipes with a hacksaw and a tree saw. We'd been at it for a couple of hours. It was slow going. We didn't have the proper tools, and we're all taking turns cutting because it was hard work with the crap tools we had. One of the people who'd supplied some of the tools was a middle-aged white man I'll call Jim. He arrived after work was well underway, but as he stood watching, he couldn't stop commenting on the job one of the women was doing using his crappy old tree saw on thick PVC. If you've ever tried to cut PVC with a handsaw, then you know the blade sticks. It's frustrating. It's not like cutting a log. The plastic starts to get hot, and it makes the saw stick, and getting it moving again takes a particular and careful effort. We were short on time. The activists would need the arm locks the next day before dawn to be properly prepared, so we were in a hurry, and there was this sense of urgency. It was past 11 p.m. already. So my friend's cutting, and Jim keeps commenting on how she's doing it wrong, how she needs to move the blade faster, how she should angle the blade, and I'm saying stuff like, it's harder than you think. She's doing a fine job. But Jim doesn't get the hint. He seems to think that because we're using one of his saws, he's the supervisor on this job now. He's getting on my nerves something fierce. I start getting angrier and angrier. It's degrading to my friend, and most importantly, it's not helping. It's only making the job harder. Finally, I say, okay, Jim, since you think you can do such a great job, why don't you go ahead and take over? Jim grabs the saw and starts vigorously cutting the pipe, and immediately breaks his own saw in half. Yes, we were down a tool, maybe even two, because I don't recall Jim sticking around after that, but I can't remember ever being so amused. I still laugh about it. I'm laughing about it right now. Thanks, Jim. When it comes to tools, I guess it takes one to know one. And our next story. I'm going to block my exit with your shopping cart. Okay. All this happened yesterday. I live by the coastline, and there's constant gusts of wind, meaning objects are being blown around. So yesterday, I decided to run to the store to grab a bunch of snacks and some drinks as I decided to chill for the weekend. Being a Saturday, such place is kind of busy and full of people. As I'm pulling into the parking lot, a couple jumps in front of me, making me slam on my brakes pretty hard. I end up parking next to them at the far end of the parking lot. I grab my snacks and drinks and head out. I get to the parking, and this couple's unloading their shopping and groceries from a cart to their car. As I'm pulling out of the parking by reversing, I see a shopping cart blocking the exit, meaning I have to get out and push the cart away. I get out of the car, I look at the couple who just give mean looks. I stand there for 2 to 3 seconds looking at them as they're mean-mugging me. This is where I get mad, because next to them is a ramp where you can set the cart on the ramp and it'll roll down to where the rest are stored. Also, as a full-grown adult, I expect you to act responsible and reasonable. I get back to my car and reverse enough to block their exit, meaning they can't get out unless I exit first. I decide if I can collect and push one cart, why not take a couple more in the process? I start collecting shopping carts all around the parking and pushing them to the ramp, set them on the hilly top ramp, and watching one by one as they roll down to the storage area. At this point, the mean couple is looking at me as walk from one end to the other looking for shopping carts. At the same time, I decide to call my gaming buddy. I could have texted him later, but I had to ensure the couple didn't get a chance to talk to me. So I'm talking on the phone while pushing carts around with the wind blowing for the most part. The guy yells at me saying, "Buddy, move your car." And I'm like, "1 minute, please." To avoid confrontation, I walk to the other end of the parking lot to look for carts while I'm still on the phone. The woman comes to me and taps my shoulder saying, "Excuse me, sir, can you move your car? You're blocking our exit." And I'm like, "Sorry, just give me a minute." As I'm doing this, I'm telling Buddy what I'm doing, and he's laughing and telling me how wicked I am. I collect and push carts for a good 15 minutes, setting each on the ramp and watching every single one roll down as they're sitting in their car, mean-mugging through the car's windows. Finally, after making sure there are no unattended carts in the parking lot, I return to my car and slowly pull away. While inside the car, I thought of going back to the store and getting more snacks as they sat in their car, but my buddy told me to let it go. They'd learned their lesson. I like it, but be careful. They could have scratched your car or damaged your tires while you're walking around the lot. And our last story. Vegan Karen from the HOA. Do you know what real luck is? It's having a neighbor with perfect traits. Let's call her Karen, as tradition dictates. So she was a terrible, raging drama queen, a very active member of the HOA, which I, to my great delight, never joined, and a militant vegan. I have nothing against someone eating whatever they like, even stones for all I care, but if they try to make me throw out my juicy, fresh marbled steak, then they're definitely not a friend. So Karen was exactly the person who suddenly decided she wanted to give up all meat and felt obliged to make everyone around her do the same. And what's worse, she joined some company that sells all this junk and started aggressively pushing it on all the neighbors. What could a sudden doorbell ring bring at 7 a.m. on the weekend? A fire or some important news? No, it was Karen bringing a new product from her company, and I absolutely had to buy it. Yes, I just love waking up in the morning on weekends to tell my neighbor yet again that I won't buy any of it. Karen: neighbor, did you know that a vegan diet helps reduce the chance of butt cancer by 678%? And that's a scientifically proven fact, confirmed by everyone. Me: okay, but for the 100th time, I'm telling you, I won't buy any of this junk. A conversation like this repeated about 10 times over the year when Karen decided she was now the main vegan in the neighborhood, so I decided to give her a little hint and bought a big Napoleon grill. I started grilling barbecues on Fridays after work so that Karen wouldn't even think of coming to me on Saturday morning, and now I love meat even more than before. That's where the story could have ended, but no. I started receiving fines from the HOA. Oops, Karen, I'm not a member of the HOA. I could have fired up my old charcoal grill with them, but now I have a gas one. But one night, someone tied my grill with a chain to a car and tried to pull it out of the yard, but accelerated so hard that it crashed into my garage, breaking the back wall. Fortunately, there was almost an empty gas cylinder there because it could have ended much worse. I was with my family celebrating my mother's 70th birthday, so my car and my kids with my wife were not harmed. The only regret is that my mother-in-law wasn't in the garage at that time. I have an alarm system at home, so the cops arrived literally 20 minutes after it happened. They called me at 4 a.m. while I was staying at my mother's. Since I had a few drinks, I had to take an Uber and drive from another part of the city. The video showed a sky blue Tesla. And guess who had such a car in our neighborhood? Right, it was Karen. The police caught her an hour later in the next town with a dented car. Apparently she got scared of what she'd done and tried to flee to another state. Karen was charged with theft and intentional property damage. She was sentenced to 14 months of community service. I also filed a lawsuit for property restoration and, of course, got what I asked for in the deal. That's the story. Unfortunately, my grill fell in the battle against Karen, and I had to buy a new one. It'll be funny if my mother-in-law watches this video. I wish this good man learns the art of grilling to the maximum. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.